Hello, my friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello, hello.
So, guys, we're looking at the tropics, and it's busy out there. Look at that. We have a couple of X's in place, which, may or may not amount to anything, but we do have Sally to really, keep in mind, take a look at where she's going, as right now she is off the southwest coast of Florida. And it looks like she might be heading anywhere between basically the Panhandle and Louisiana. We see Paulette and also Renee and also disturbance number 20. Busy out there.
Yeah, it looks like it's Grand Central for these things.
Yeah, it's a record year in many different ways. And as we bring this up, we'll take a look from my Fox Hurricane at Tropical Storm Sally. As you see, she is expected to actually achieve hurricane status and possibly make a landfall somewhere between Louisiana and Mississippi, most likely. But really, you should be keeping track of it if you're anywhere from, say, the Houston, Galveston area all the way over to the Panhandle of Florida.
Definitely watch where you are. Be careful.
Yeah, we're going to take a look at the spaghetti models. As you see, most of them are pretty much in agreement. Again, more than likely, it'll be somewhere between New Orleans. New Orleans has gotten hit so hard in the past. And of course, so much of Louisiana is just reclaimed and really it's at sea level. Some is even below sea level, which makes for a definite problem with the flooding. Mississippi, keep your eyes open. Alabama as well. And as we jump over here, take a look at CBS News. We see Tropical Storm Sally formed Saturday off the coast of Florida and the Gulf of Mexico. The National Hurricane Center said. And let me see if I could get over here. There we go. So it's the 18th named storm of the Atlantic hurricane season, which peaks in mid-September. Sally is expected to strengthen into hurricane early next week as it moves northeast across the Gulf of Mexico. It could produce life-threatening storm surge and hurricane-force winds from southeastern Louisiana to the Alabama coast. And it could also bring flash floods to the Florida Panhandle, and tropical storm conditions are expected in the area as early as Sunday, as we see some satellite imagery there. Currently, the maximum winds are around 40 miles an hour, but definitely one to watch, as we already, Louisiana already is still reeling from the last storm, which was a Category 4. Here we see exceptional rainfall and record floods hit African Sahel, and so these are record floods all across West, Central, and East Africa. They've affected millions of people, and you have over 200 people dead, and hundreds of thousands left homeless. And, since around 2017, when it feels like everything kind of really went super crazy, the amount of people that have been basically turned into migrants or, having to leave their homes because of the storms, the flooding, the wildfires, it's unimaginable in times previous to then.
Yeah, this is across and throughout. And if you're one of those people, our prayers are with you.
And don't forget, we have the locust outbreaks that have been ongoing as well. The crop situation, the food situation is just growing and growing. And then, of course, we have this worldwide pandemic. So we have everything going on, as we know. So we have a 6.1 earthquake that hits near the east coast of Honshu, Japan. We've had quite a few 6s lately. 6s and mid-6s. This one, though, had no tsunami risk, which is good, although 1.7 million people are estimated to have felt this shaking. And when we go and take a look at the wildfire situation, it's still very, very ominous. As you see satellite imagery showing all these fires burning. I think we're in a time, too, where people's fuses, I think, in many cases are very short now.
Well, they've done that on purpose to try to distract us and keep our vibration low, and it's a really nasty trick.
There's just so many things that people are getting bombarded with right now. Everywhere you look, it doesn't matter where you are in the country or in the world, really, because so many things are happening all over. There's protests related to the phenomenon that has, it starts with the letter Q, that have spread not just in this country, but across the globe as well. I think people are waking up to the fact that there is a lot of manipulation going on behind the scenes, to the point where you get people like Elizabeth Warren was basically doing the usual routine, and saying, well, here's what man-made climate change gets you.
Yeah, exactly.
When I think people are waking up to the point where we're getting more and more people that recognize that things don't add up. It's not all about, CO2 emissions, most definitely not. And so we see here, Oregon official warns of mass fatality incident. As you got Oregon, for instance, now it's over 1 million acres burned. 500,000 people are under evacuation orders. So many people have lost everything. Of course, California has even more acres burned, like 2.5 times what Oregon does. But, this is getting to be every single year just going up and up and up. And I think more people are waking up to the fact that they're just not buying that everything is just naturally occurring.
No, it's not naturally occurring, but that's the agenda they're going to push.
So when we look out west, you got California, Oregon, Washington, Colorado, Idaho, and Utah with major fires going. 29,000 personnel working to stop 97 large fires. 4.7 million acres total. And then we have some minor fires going on in comparison in Arizona and New Mexico as well. But think about this too, and just throw this out there. If you were in this chaotic pandemic situation, in so many ways it feels like we're going into almost a zombie apocalypse in so many ways, not necessarily flesh-eating zombies, but it's got everything else going. When you're talking pandemic, you're talking all the natural disasters going, then you have the tension between the right and the left, which is almost threatening to break out into a second civil war. And, coincidentally, like after the Civil War, I want to say it was the election of 1876. We've been going through a lot of the old elections. I mean, we almost got into another civil war at that point of time. It was so contentious. So this election upcoming, I think, will be one for the records. Because no matter what happens, whether there is election, whether it's postponed, whether it doesn't happen, whether, the left wins or the right wins, there's going to be chaos because the other side's not going to accept it regardless. They're not going to accept it. So where would you want to bug out to if we were going to have that type of chaos, a mass pandemic, civil unrest, maybe a civil war? And then, of course, we have the tensions with China and Russia, North Korea, et cetera, et cetera. All these different things going on, Iran. Well, I think a good place a lot of people might think in their heads to go would be, I'm just going out into the woods somewhere out in the West. Maybe I'll go do some camping up in Wyoming or, in perhaps Oregon, in the Pacific Northwest, in Washington, in California. Just get away from the cities, get out of the cities, get to the woods. But the woods is burning out there now. Is that just another coincidence, or is perhaps good places that would normally be good to go to escape the chaos of crazy urban situations are going to be toasted now, and they're burning right now. Maybe by election day all the fires will be out, let's hope. Still, regardless, everything put together makes you really say,
Well, yeah, it's all these things that make you want to go,
But, there are those that have talked about these times, as we've brought up several of them. And, unfortunately, so many of them are not with us anymore. And about, the big plan to create that one world order that we've heard of for so long. But it really is a corporate world. It is a corporate world. And I forget who I was listening to today, but they got it right. Because you see so many people will, if they're talking down on the left, they'll say, well, really what we're fighting is Marxist, communist, ideology. But really what we're all fighting is fascism, because in fascism, it's a corporate, state-run situation. And look at what we got in these times. Who has benefited from all the chaos and the disaster? Well, it's been the big ones, the biggest of all the corporations. They've actually had record years, record profits. You know, I mean, look at Bezos and Amazon, for instance. And as I was saying, eventually you're just going to have one place to mail order things through, and shop online, one place to go to buy your food if you want to go get it in person. You're going to have a pass which will ascertain that you are free of the thing that's flying around in the air, quote unquote. Make sure that you have gotten your inoculation if you want to ever go and eat in a restaurant again, or go and shop, or otherwise you're just going to have to be totally self-sufficient. And I did see another article, not to get totally off center, where there was like 20 families in Georgia that bought like 100 acres to work together. That type of thing is going to happen as well. And groups of people are going to just withdraw from society and try to self-sustain. And let's hope that Big Brother doesn't come knocking and confiscating as well. So here we see Environment Canada has issued a special air quality statement for Metro Vancouver due to the wildfire smoke from Washington and Oregon. It poses a significant risk to your health. Well, definitely. We already have face coverings on, but when you add everything that's getting burned, our at-home air filter has started telling us that things have turned unhealthy in our home. The bad air is managing to sneak in even through closed windows and doors, writes a reporter for the New York Times and a San Francisco resident. And look at over Khartoum, Sudan. Quote is, "This is heartbreaking. Flood is washing away this beautiful city." And, there are cities that are 400 feet underwater right now, that they're where the coastlines used to be a different time. And you got to wonder, what mysteries are hidden down there, and how much of our current civilization is going to end up underwater. As it all depends on what you believe, how severe it's going to be. If you look at the Chan Thomas Adam and Eve story, there's like nothing that is left. But then when you look at Casey's predictions, there's a lot that's left. A lot, although things do drastically change. And we have flooding in the D.C. area here as well. And this is a time lapse. It's actually kind of cool. Flooding everywhere. So if you are in a situation where there's drought, more than likely it's probably going to get a little bit worse, at least for the immediate future. My good friend Dave Dubine over at DAP 2030, I got to ask him for that info again. He had sent me a while back what happens to the West. For instance, when I was telling him we were looking to come out west in real deep grand solar minimums, such as the Maunder or even deeper, because some areas fare very well and we become very, very green where it was just nothing but dry desert. Conversely, too, where there is a lot of water in places that might get 4, 5, 6 inches of rain every month, that might be doubling, tripling, or quadrupling. So, it's anywhere you go, you're going to be hit with things to deal with in these times. That's really the bottom line. So 24 best plants for your bucket garden. And, there is an advantage to gardening in buckets, as you can basically move them in, move them out. So if you have a nice little warm stretch, just, you're okay to leave them out, you can leave them out. If a cold snap's coming, you could pull them in if you have a place to pull them into. Also, if you are in a drought situation or where water is scarce, it'll hold water better.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really important one, is if you can't get water or you're water limited, this is really useful.
So 24 best crops to grow in buckets. Beets, if you like beets. Broccoli, cabbage, carrots, cauliflower, collard greens, dwarf bananas, dwarf oranges. eggplant, garlic, kale, lettuce, mustard greens, okra, onions, peas, peppers, potatoes, radishes, rice, strawberries, sweet corn, Swiss chard, and tomatoes. And so, it's something to think about. There are other things you could do too, as we shared the video before in the past about the gentleman who's about 85 years old farming in Nebraska. And he builds his greenhouses about 6 feet underground. So part of them are underground. And he uses geothermal. So he has hoses running to basically crank cool air up for the summer and warm air basically in the winter. And he's able to grow everything, oranges, you name it, citrus, pineapples, guavas, pretty much everything that you could grow in a tropical zone. He is getting great results in Nebraska.
Yeah, I think with a little ingenuity and imagination, you can do just about anything anywhere.
And guys, we want to thank you for your support. Those of you that have supported us and become a family member over there on Patreon and also on Ko-Fi. As you know, the first channel, Evolutionary, has been demonetized for a long time, and I don't think they're ever going to reinstate it because they obviously don't like some truths being spread. But as always, God bless and namaste.
Namaste.